All right, let's get right into it. When I say the word retirement, what's the first thing that pops into your head? A gold watch? Maybe a lounge chair on a beach? For generations, we've thought of it as this finish line, a simple date on the calendar you work towards. But today, we're going to see how that whole picture is changing. It turns out retirement isn't really an endpoint at all. It's this huge, complicated landscape of human emotion, packed with hopes, fears, and some really big questions.
So what does retirement actually mean to people, right here, right now? As we're about to see from some incredibly honest and candid survey responses, the answer is, well, it's anything but simple. It is deeply, deeply personal, and it changes dramatically from one person to the next.
So on one hand, you have the dream, right? The picture-perfect ideal that we've all been sold. This response just nails it. A feeling of peace, of happiness, a really well-earned reward after a lifetime of hard work. This is the retirement you see in the brochures.
And then, bam, you get the other side of the coin. And this is the modern reality for so many people. This quote is just so raw, so unfiltered. It speaks to this deep anxiety that's not just about money, but as they put it, it's existential. The gap between these two views is just massive.
And really, that's what this is. It's a story of two opposing realities. The blissful dream smashing right up against a modern world of profound uncertainty.
So let's start with the one thing that connects almost everyone, the common denominator. Before you can even get to the big questions about purpose and meaning, the conversation for most of us starts, and sometimes even ends, with money.
What's so interesting is how specific these fears are. I mean, you see the big ones, of course. Inflation, just eating up your savings, the insane cost of healthcare, and that simple gut punch of a fear of just not having enough. But people are also worried about paying off old debts, and even how they're going to keep supporting their families.
And this right here, this is a perfect snapshot of our times. Forget all the formal financial jargon. This person's plea for stonks, internet speak for stocks, to beat inflation, it perfectly captures the high-stakes game that so many people feel like they're being forced to play just to stay afloat.
Wow. Just let that phrase sink in. It is so simple it's almost poetic, but it's an absolutely terrifying summary of the #1 financial fear. It's not about getting rich in retirement. For so many, it's about the very real and very frightening possibility of outliving their own money.
And for some people, that financial mountain just seems so impossibly high that the whole idea of ever stopping work feels like a complete fantasy. This quote, with its little bit of dark humor, just perfectly captures that feeling of being underprepared. The belief that for them, a traditional retirement just isn't in the cards.
But here's where things get really interesting. As we dig deeper into these responses, you find that once you get past those almost universal money worries, a much richer, more human set of concerns starts to pop up. It turns out our anxieties about retirement go way beyond the bank account.
And the data here really tells a story. I mean, health is a massive concern, no surprise there, but just look at the other major factors: loneliness, family, and then there's that surprisingly big piece of the pie, purpose, a deep-seated need to find meaning when the 9-to-5 is gone.
This comparison is just fascinating. It shows how our worries, well, they evolve. Before retirement, it's all what if. The anxieties are speculative. Will I be bored? Am I going to lose my friends from work? But for people already in retirement, those fears become very real, very concrete. Did I make a mistake and retire too early? Or struggling with insufficient social contacts? The what if becomes the right now. Now, there was one particular story that just wrapped up so many of these themes perfectly. It starts out simple enough, with a retirement plan that was just, go fishing. But that financial reality, it hit hard and it hit fast.
And then life just intervened, in the most brutal way. Her husband passed away. She battled cancer. And decades later, she's still fighting, living on a fixed income in subsidized housing. This is where all those fears we saw in the charts, health, money, loss, all converge in one person's real, lived experience.
And yet, and this is what's so incredible, in the face of all of that hardship, her story doesn't end in despair. It ends with this profound statement of faith and resilience. It's a search for hope that goes beyond her circumstances. Her story is just a powerful testament to the strength people find when life throws its biggest challenges at them. And this brings us to what might be the most surprising and profound theme that we saw in all these responses. Beyond the money, beyond even health, there's this deep, persistent desire to find meaning, to stay useful.
It's a genuine quest for purpose.
Think about that. For this person, the biggest worries weren't about their stock portfolio. They were about boredom and a sense of divine purpose. The question wasn't, can I afford to stop working? It was, what am I supposed to do next?
And you see this incredible fear of an empty retirement again and again. The anxiety isn't about running out of money. It's about running out the clock on a life of meaning. There's this powerful desire for this final chapter to have real substance and significance.
For so many, retirement is clearly viewed through a spiritual lens, a legacy-focused lens. The ultimate measure of success isn't the size of their 401k, but whether they can look back and feel like they used their time well in service of something bigger than themselves.
So what does all this tell us? When you listen to all of these diverse, honest, powerful voices, they force us to just throw out that old one-size-fits-all definition of retirement. The whole concept is being actively redefined right before our eyes.
What this all shows is that retirement is not some passive withdrawal from life. It is an active, complex, and deeply personal continuation of it. It's a chapter filled with brand new challenges, financial, social, and physical, but it is also defined by this profound and really inspiring search for meaning and purpose.
And that really leaves us with a final question to chew on. After hearing all these stories, you have to ask yourself, are we measuring retirement by the right yardstick? Is a successful retirement really about what you've managed to accumulate in the bank, or is it about who you become in this final, meaningful chapter of your life?